Welcome to this video about the noble son of Gondor, Boromir. Since his memorable appearance in J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings series, Boromir has resonated deeply with fans from every corner of the globe with his indomitable spirit, his prowess as a warrior, and his complex and sometimes conflicted sense of duty. In this video, we'll dive deep into what makes Boromir such a captivating character and how he's etched his place in the annals of fantasy literature and cinema. From his upbringing in the great city of Minas Tirith to his bond with the members of the Fellowship and his significant role in the quest to destroy the One Ring, we will uncover all the facets that make Boromir one of the great heroes. So, with this next entry in our series, whether you're a die-hard fan of The Lord of the Rings or simply curious about what makes this character so special, sit back and enjoy as we explore the many talents and qualities that make Boromir stand out among the heroes of Middle-earth.
Build me an army worthy of Mordor.
Remember everyone, if you find this video helpful, informative, or entertaining today, please remember to hit that subscribe button below. By subscribing, you'll never miss out on any of our latest videos, and you'll be supporting us to continue creating great content like this. One of the things Boromir is best known for today is his death, and this is in no small part due to the amazing job that Sean Bean did in the movies. In the book, he is felled by the arrows of Ugluk rather than Lurtz, but his words in either version are charged with emotion, for better or worse. But if we look at the book, this is what he utters. "Farewell, Aragorn. Go to Minas Tirith and save my people. I have failed." "No," said Aragorn, taking his hand and kissing his brow. "You have conquered. Few have gained such a victory. Be at peace. Minas Tirith shall not fall." Boromir smiled. "Which way did they go? Was Frodo there?" said Aragorn. But Boromir did not speak again. Boromir is a special character. His inner conflict and desire to not only make his father proud, but to save his people from the spreading darkness is one of the many things that make him just who he is. Boromir was born in 2978 of the Third Age to Denethor II and Finduilas. Boromir had a very strong bond with his brother Faramir, who was born 5 years later than he was. And despite their different temperaments and interests, they were, as I said, very close. Boromir was more into martial pursuits and soldiering, whereas Faramir was more interested in lore and knowledge. Despite this, there is no evidence that the two ever fought with one another, but to the contrary, all information points to Boromir being a very protective and loving older brother. One of my personal favourite moments is how Boromir defends the honour of people he knows to be honourable, without maybe inquiring any further. For example, by the time we are introduced to the Rohirrim in the film series, Boromir has already departed. But in the book, we see him defend the Rohirrim on numerous occasions, with the first one being from the accusation that they have been levying tribute to the Dark Lord by sending their strongest horses to Sauron. When this is mentioned, Boromir is quick to come to the side of Gondor's historical ally. "Then he must be a noble beast indeed," said Aragorn. "And it grieves me more than many tidings that might seem worse to learn that Sauron levies such tribute. It was not so when last I was in that land." "Nor is it now, I will swear," said Boromir. "It is a lie that comes from the enemy. I know the men of Rohan, true and valiant, our allies, dwelling still in the lands that we gave them long ago." "The shadow of Mordor lies on distant lands," answered Aragorn. "Saruman has fallen under it. Rohan is beset. Who knows what you will find there if ever you return? Not this at least," said Boromir, "that they will buy their lives with horses. They love their horses next to their kin, and not without reason, for the horses of the Riddermark come from the fields of the north, far from the shadow, and their race, as that of their masters, is descended from the free days of old." The reason for Boromir's presence at the council also gives us a hint to who he is, as this is where we learn of the prophecy that was initially received by his brother. Boromir's recounting of the prophecy suggests a sense of inferiority compared to his brother, as he describes it, saying, For on the eve of the sudden assault a dream came to my brother in a troubled sleep, and afterwards a like dream came oft to him again, and once to me. The prophecy of which he speaks is the partner couplet to the rhyming message that was sent on to Bree that would allow for Frodo and his companions to know Aragorn to be a friend and not a foe. The first half is that one, and the second half is the one that comes to Boromir and Faramir in a dream. But the important part here is how Boromir does give the recognition that it is Faramir who received the vision first, not him, even when no one could prove otherwise, perhaps in a chance to build his own importance. He still does not do it.
He looks to me to make things right, and I would do it. I would see the glory of Gondor restored.
If we now want to look more directly at a feat Boromir accomplished, we do not need to go far from the council, as we can use his journey to Rivendell as a great example of his strength and determination. Rivendell itself was a place that had faded half into myth and legend to those in Gondor, so there was no well-trodden path to get there. In spite of the hardship of the journey, Boromir's constitution shines through. The journey took more than 100 days, and this is partly due to his horse being lost during the journey. Another interesting moment for Boromir comes when the Fellowship enter Lorien. Each member of the Fellowship gets a personalised gift from the Lady Galadriel, someone who actually both Gimli and Boromir fear at first meeting. But she would end their time together by gifting Boromir a belt which was woven of golden leaves. That this gift was meaningful to Boromir is seen by Faramir later, despite not knowing where the belt came from, as when the body of his brother is discovered, Faramir sees the golden belt which he was given, and it is still upon his waist. By giving him this, Galadriel is able to show that she understands and values the people of Gondor and its culture. It is actually quite sad that we never got this moment in the movies. There is another reading that suggests Galadriel is attempting to give Boromir what he truly wants here as well, a band of gold, hoping that the gift might satisfy his desire for the One Ring. This is another thing really that does make Boromir so special, as he does not even want the ring for personal power, nor for personal glory. He is willing to pay the ultimate price for his comrades, to give his life in defense of the weak. That Boromir is more than an immediate villain in the film does work in its own way. It is not a commentary on the questionable moral character of Boromir, but the opposite. It is his integrity and decency which allows for the ring to call out to him. He sees it in the same way as Gandalf explains when he speaks of how he would use the ring out of his desire to do good, and yet he rejects the usage of the ring, knowing that it would bend his wish to do good into distortions of that desire to oppose the forces of Sauron and of the darkness.
Don't tempt me, Frodo!
Boromir is also a man whose reputation precedes him. In the movies, we get Lurtz who puts down Boromir. However, in the book, it is Ugluk that is responsible for the killing of the captain, and survives long enough to boast about it later. And if you're interested on why perhaps Lurtz was added to the movies instead of using Ugluk or someone else, please check out our video on that subject. But anyway, Boromir is just such a deeply conflicted character, and it is understandable how a man driven to such desperation to save his people that he would betray his oath and attempt to take the ring from Frodo and end up with those arrows in his chest. Thankfully, he does realise these mistakes before his passing though. A mile, maybe, from Parthgallen, in a little glade not far from the lake, he found Boromir. He was sitting with his back to a great tree, as if he was resting. But Aragorn saw that he was pierced with many black-feathered arrows. His sword was still in his hand, but it was broken near the hilt. His horn, cloven in two, was at his side. Many orcs lay slain, piled all about him and at his feet. Aragorn knelt beside him. Boromir opened his eyes and strove to speak. At last, slow words came. "I tried to take the ring from Frodo," he said. "I am sorry. I have paid." His glance strayed to his fallen enemies. 20 at least lay there. "They have gone. The halflings. The orcs have taken them. I think they are not dead. Orcs bound them." He paused, and his eyes closed wearily. After a moment, he spoke again. "Farewell, Aragorn. Go to Minas Tirith and save my people. I have failed. It means we have come full circle and back at last to the end of Boromir's life. And thankfully, he is given the opportunity at redemption. And speaking of Boromir's actions later, Gandalf comments. He said quietly, "Poor Boromir. I could not see what happened to him. It was a sore trial for such a man, a warrior and a lord of men. Galadriel told me that he was in peril, but he escaped in the end. I am glad. It was not in vain that the young hobbits came with us, if only for Boromir's sake." Boromir, for what little or not it may have been worth, had a moral victory, however small, and that was that the ring was not able to ensnare him completely or permanently at least. He was able to understand the error of his ways. He wants to know Frodo is okay. He fully confesses his failures, and he dies doing his utmost to defend Merry and Pippin, making sure Aragorn knows they're alive so that they can go after them. He puts his life in between the innocent and has always done so. He has been at the front of the war with Mordor since the June of 3018, and he, more than most, understands the stakes. Like every other character in this series, on what makes Tolkien's characters so special is how they can be seen as tropes and archetypes, when the characters depicted in Lord of the Rings are three-dimensional characters with a sense of honour, duty, and each of them their own notion of what must be done to rid the world of Sauron and the darkness. He is brave, but not foolish, quick to take offence and quick to forgive. Like many of Professor Tolkien's characters, it is hard to depict them completely accurately, though it must be confessed, I really do love the portrayal of Boromir by Sean Bean. In fact, you could quite easily say,
"It is a gift."
So there we have it. Boromir stands as the embodiment of the human spirit, encompassing all our strengths, vulnerabilities, and inevitable flaws. As a character, he captures the essence of J.R.R. Tolkien's masterful storytelling, where every individual is complex and multidimensional. Boromir's journey from a dutiful son of Gondor to a member of the Fellowship battling his own desires and inner demons serves as a poignant reminder that true heroes are not those devoid of weaknesses, but rather those who confront and learn from them. His actions, mistakes, and redemption, beautifully brought to life in both literature and on screen, resonate because they reflect our own struggles. In Boromir, we see ourselves, our failures, our hopes, and our unyielding spirit. This is what makes Boromir special. He is a mirror into our own souls, reflecting both the darkness and the light within. It is really hard to say that Boromir is not the kind of man that so many of us strive to be like. With that now though, it is time for my question of the day, which is, do you want to see an entry in this series about why Faramir is so special too? Or perhaps there are other characters you would like to see more? Let me know all of your thoughts and suggestions on this in the comment section down below. And now to shout out our patrons. You guys have been amazing in supporting our short film project. We have got some amazing updates coming soon. We are really making good progress and I cannot thank you all enough. We have the Divine Power tier member of Kevin, the Fire Demon tier member of Nashith, and the Wizard Staff tier members of John, Andrew, and Hunter. You are all true legends of the Brohirrim. Finally, I really appreciate your time in watching this video today. If you've enjoyed the content, please consider hitting that subscribe button and the bell icon with notifications enabled, so that you will get notified when all future videos are released. Thank you once again for your support, and I look forward to seeing you next time on The Broken Sword.